If you thought the Kada Scott situation was wild before, wait until you hear what just dropped. Because tonight, Officer Rayburn didn't just update the investigation. He flipped the entire timeline upside down and left everybody, fans, family, and even people who swore they knew the truth, staring at their phones like, Ayo, what? This new evidence? It's messy. It's loud. It's the kind of twist that makes people start calling cousins like, did you see this yet? Because according to sources close to the department, Officer Rayburn went from quiet cop to full-blown whistleblower overnight. And the things he exposed? Let's just say the internet is already calling it the biggest curveball of the year. We're talking deleted messages popping back up out of nowhere. Security footage that magically didn't exist, now being played frame by frame. And a timestamp that literally destroys the story Kada Scott has been running with for months. People are saying Rayburn just changed the whole game. Emotions are already high, the family is reportedly split in half, and fans are losing their minds. If you think you're ready for what comes next, you're not. Because this story, it gets crazier from here. From the moment Officer Rayburn stepped out of the precinct clutching that thick manila folder against his chest, people could tell he wasn't the same officer who had been quietly standing behind microphones for the last 3 months. Something in his walk was different. Something in his eyes was different. He looked like a man who had been sitting on a secret for far too long. Too long to keep pretending everything was standard police procedure. This wasn't a routine update. This was a man carrying the kind of evidence that flips stories, breaks families, divides cities, and sends fan bases into meltdown mode. And in that one moment, the truth everyone thought they knew about Kada Scott began to unravel. Before this, Kada's defenders had built a fortress around him. He was supposed to be the talented, emotional, misunderstood rising star who sometimes got a little reckless but had a good heart. His supporters treated him like he was incapable of lying, incapable of slipping, incapable of doing anything that could damage his name. Every time drama popped up, Kada went straight to his favorite line, "I ain't do nothing. Y'all weird." And his fans swallowed it whole. He was their flawed hero. Their dramatic king. Their too real to fake it social media star. But what nobody realized was that beneath all the charm and confidence, there were cracks forming. Small at first. Subtle. The kind you only notice when you stare too hard. Officer Rayburn was the first to stare hard enough. Long before he dropped the first wave of evidence, he had been quietly watching Kada's timeline like a detective watching a puzzle that refused to assemble cleanly. Something about the story bothered him. Kada claimed he was home all night. Claimed he never left. Claimed he never messaged anyone. Claimed he was sleeping. It all sounded too perfect, too neat, like a script someone rehearsed in front of a mirror. Rayburn replayed the footage so many times his coworkers joked he was becoming best friends with the pause button. But he knew he was right to keep looking because something in that footage, something tiny and almost invisible, didn't sit right with him. What he found was a glitch. A single frame jump in the video timeline that made no sense. A shadow where a shadow shouldn't be. Most officers would have shrugged and moved on, but Rayburn wasn't built like most officers. He was stubborn, obsessive, and sharp enough to know glitches don't always mean glitches. Sometimes glitches are the places where truth leaks through. So he dug deeper, and deeper, until he found the first real piece of the truth. A text message Kada thought he deleted months ago. A simple message. 2 words. Pull up. Sent at 1:42 a.m. 5 minutes before the timestamp on a blurry security camera that caught someone who looked exactly like Kada walking across a parking lot. That message was the first crack in Kada's perfect alibi. It wasn't enough to call him out publicly, not yet, but it was enough for Rayburn to keep pushing. Then came the neighbor with the cheap audio recording device, the one they installed because the people upstairs were always arguing. Rayburn listened to that file 17 times, each time growing more convinced that the male voice yelling in the recording belonged to Kada. The way he spoke, the cadence, the tone, the urgency. The voice saying, "Kada, stop. People can hear you," sounded terrified. The slam, the struggle, the running footsteps. It all connected, piece by piece, to the timeline Kada swore was airtight. Meanwhile, Kada wasn't helping himself. His behavior started shifting in ways people close to him noticed instantly. He was edgy, snapping at harmless questions, calling people less, sleeping less. His close friend Jalen mentioned on a podcast that Kada seemed off, moving like someone who expected something bad to hit him at any moment. And when fans began speculating online, Kada doubled down on his innocence with the confidence of someone who didn't think the truth would ever catch up to him. But the truth always catches up. The night Rayburn found the surveillance clip showing a figure, same height, build, and posture as Kada, leaving the complex at 1:50 a.m., he knew the game had changed. He slowed the clip frame by frame, comparing Kada's gait with the figure's movements. Every detail matched. The angle of the shoulders, the way the left foot turned outward, the slight lean forward when walking fast. It was him, and Rayburn couldn't shake it anymore. Everything Kada denied was slowly turning into evidence solid enough to break the internet. Within Kada's family, tensions grew. His sister unfollowed him and posted a quote about not defending grown people who lie. His mother posted a Bible scripture that fans recognized immediately as one people use when they're disappointed but don't want to say it outright. His cousin, who once defended Kada aggressively online, suddenly deleted all related posts. The cracks in the family foundation became public, and fans noticed. Then Rayburn did the unthinkable. He leaked the first chunk of footage, not directly, but by accidentally sharing it with someone he knew would pass it along. And they did. Within hours, Say Cheese and Candidly Cassie had it up. TikTok had reaction videos. Twitter had threads. Reddit had timelines. Kada's "I never left the house" defense was smashed into pieces. But Rayburn wasn't done. Because tucked inside that manila folder was one more piece of evidence. Something so explosive he knew dropping it casually would look suspicious. So he waited. And when he finally walked into the press room at 11:58 p.m., just 2 minutes before midnight, people felt like they were about to witness something historic. His hands shook. His breathing was heavy. He knew the moment he pressed play, the truth would spill out like gasoline. The phone call recording began with static, then silence, then Kada's voice whispering into the phone. "Bro, you cannot switch up on me now. You know what happened." The room froze. Kada's voice was unmistakable. That wasn't a deep fake, wasn't edited, wasn't fabricated. It was him. He continued, panic creeping into his tone. "I shouldn't have even gone inside, man. If somebody sees me, it's over." Then the line that killed his timeline. "I left at 1:58. You know that. Don't ever say 2:30 again." All the lies came crashing down. Kada didn't just leave the house. He left at the exact time witnesses claimed. His voice confirmed it. Then came the whisper that changed the entire story. What if she talks? What if she tells them I was there? Suddenly, the mysterious woman seen running out at 2:07 a.m. wasn't just a coincidence. She was someone he knew, someone he feared, someone he assumed wouldn't protect him. Fans lost their minds. People rewatched the clip until their eyes hurt. TikTok detectives traced every woman in Kada's past to figure out who the 2:07 a.m. mystery figure was. When they finally discovered she was connected to someone Kada swore he barely knew, the plot exploded into a messy triangle of lies, betrayal, and panic. But the biggest twist wasn't the woman. It wasn't the family. It wasn't the witness. It wasn't the timeline. It was the source of the evidence. Because all of it, from the audio to the call clip to the deleted messages, came from one place. Kada's own backup phone. His phone synced automatically every 24 hours. He thought he deleted everything. He didn't. The cloud caught him. The system forwarded the flagged files. Rayburn received them. And without even realizing it, Kada had handed over the very evidence that destroyed him. And what happened next nobody expected, because once the world found out that Kada's own phone had unknowingly destroyed his entire alibi, the internet went into a frenzy so wild it made every previous scandal look like a warm-up act. The moment Rayburn's reveal started spreading, fan accounts erupted with shock. Haters celebrated like they won the lottery, and people who used to ride or die for Kada suddenly pretended they had seen the signs all along. But while the online world spiraled into theories, arguments, and conspiracies, the real fire was happening behind the scenes, where Kada himself was spiraling harder than anyone realized. People close to him said that after Rayburn's press briefing, Kada threw his phone across the room, started pacing like a man who couldn't breathe, and snapped at his team with frantic lines like, "This isn't supposed to happen, and why would it sync? I deleted it." He reportedly grabbed his second phone, locked himself in a bathroom for nearly an hour, and tried every possible way to shut down whatever account the audio had synced from. But it was too late. Once evidence hits the system, it's out of the user's hands. And Kada wasn't in control anymore, his own device was. Meanwhile, Officer Rayburn wasn't celebrating or smiling like the hero of a dramatic reveal. If anything, he looked exhausted, mentally drained from holding on to evidence that no one believed, fighting a department that told him not to dig, and carrying the weight of a truth that would make him a target. But the moment he exposed the final piece, his quiet determination turned into something else. A wave of calls, reporters demanding more, officials trying to reach him, and online critics questioning his motives. Rayburn ignored all of it. He didn't care about trending clips or overnight fame. He only cared that the truth was finally out. But the public? They cared about everything except the truth. They cared about drama, loyalty, betrayal, timelines, secret calls, mysterious women, and the explosion of Kada's image. They cared about angles that didn't matter, whispered rumors that held no weight, and dramatic TikTok edits that piled theories on theories with zero evidence. The biggest conversation wasn't, did Kada lie? It was, who was the girl at 2:07 a.m.? Because once fans saw the frame of her sprinting through the hallway, in a hoodie, head down, moving with fear or urgency, they couldn't let go of the mystery. Reporters tried to identify her. Bloggers tried to match her to every woman Kada had ever been photographed with. Fans started DMing random girls from Kada's past, asking, "Was this you?" Until several of them had to publicly post, "Please stop messaging me. I don't know that man anymore." But the truth behind the woman was far more complicated than anyone guessed. She wasn't an ex. She wasn't a side fling. She wasn't random. She wasn't irrelevant. She was tied to someone Kada pretended he barely knew, someone he publicly dismissed, someone he talked down on, someone he laughed off in interviews. And that's why her involvement cut deeper than the timeline crack. When the 2:07 a.m. woman posted the photo of the evidence envelope, the internet detonated. It wasn't a selfie. It wasn't shade. It wasn't a quote. It was a picture of a police evidence submission envelope with part of a name ripped off. It was the kind of photo someone posts when they're done protecting somebody. Fans screenshot it instantly, zoomed in, brightened it, edited it, flipped it, inverted it, doing everything short of running it through FBI software. Someone pointed out a fingerprint on the corner. Someone else compared the font style to evidence envelopes from the city. Others zoomed into the tear marks, as if they were mapping a crime scene. The frenzy was insane. In the middle of this chaos, Kada's brother dropped his cryptic line, "Loyalty don't mean covering lies." That one sentence made the world believe he was the snitch, the betrayer, the inside source, the one who turned against Kada. Comment sections filled with accusations. Screenshots resurfaced. Old arguments were brought back up. People started tweeting things like, "Damn, not his own blood," and "Brother versus brother is crazy for real." But what nobody knew at that moment was that Kada's brother wasn't talking about snitching, wasn't talking about evidence, wasn't even talking about Rayburn. He was talking about something else entirely, something the public hadn't seen yet. Inside Kada's circle, the atmosphere was toxic. His team wasn't aligned. His close friends were arguing. His manager was panicking. His publicist quit without warning. Someone in his crew allegedly said, "I can't go down for this," and walked out in the middle of a meeting. One of his cousins refused to answer calls. His stylist posted a shady quote. His barber liked to post laughing at Kada's downfall. His mother stopped defending him. The whole inner circle was falling apart like a building with no support beams. And Kada felt it. He felt the crumble. He felt the betrayal. He felt the fear. and fear made him sloppy. That's when he tried to go live again. He clicked go live at least 3 times but ended it within seconds because he couldn't keep his voice steady. People saw glimpses, his shaky breathing, his frantic eyes, his hand trembling near his face. Someone screen recorded one split second where Kada muttered, "I didn't mean to say that on the phone," before the screen cut off. And that clip alone sent the internet into another meltdown. Comments poured in. So, he did say it. He confirming it without confirming it. Bro panicking for real. While Kada unraveled publicly, Rayburn stayed silent. He didn't respond to media. He didn't post anything. He didn't explain further. But the silence made people hungrier. Journalists camped outside the precinct. Bloggers called former officers. Influencers made what I think Rayburn is hiding videos. And throughout all the noise, one question kept growing louder. Who sent Rayburn the recording? That question simmered until the moment Rayburn finally gave an answer. It wasn't during a press conference. It wasn't during a TV interview. It wasn't in an official statement. It happened in a hallway, caught by a single reporter who managed to corner him right before he reached the exit. The reporter asked, "Sir, is it true a family member sent you the evidence?" Rayburn paused, took a breath, looked at the reporter with exhausted eyes. Then he said, in the calmest tone imaginable, "It didn't come from a family member." The reporter then asked, "Did it come from a friend?" Rayburn shook his head. "No." The reporter pushed again. "Then who gave you the call recording?" Rayburn let out a small sigh, like he had been waiting for someone to ask the right question. And then he said it. The phone itself. The hallway fell silent. Nobody reacted at first. Nobody understood what he meant. But then Rayburn clarified, it was an automatic cloud backup. The device forwarded it. He didn't know. And that sentence changed the entire tone of the story. It wasn't betrayal. It wasn't disloyalty. It wasn't a snitch. It wasn't a friend flipping. It wasn't family revenge. It wasn't a woman at 2:07 a.m. The evidence that destroyed Kada came from Kada himself, because he didn't know how to turn off autosync. The shockwave hit online instantly. Comment sections turned into digital earthquakes. People laughed, cried, argued, screamed, made memes, edited videos, stitched clips, and typed essays. Someone tweeted, "His own phone did him dirtier than any enemy ever could." Another wrote, "iCloud built like the FBI." One person even joked, "This is why you read the settings before you cheat." The reactions were brutal, but they reflected a story that had spiraled far beyond what anyone expected. Yet even with the cloud revelation exposed, there was still one mystery the public couldn't shake. The woman at 2:07 a.m. Why was she there? Why did she run? Why did she submit evidence? And what did she know that Kada was so scared she might talk about? That question, her identity, her connection, her role, became the last unsolved piece. And as the internet kept digging, the truth behind her involvement grew deeper, darker, and more personal than anyone ever imagined. What happened next wasn't just shocking, it was the kind of twist that changes everything. What happened next wasn't just shocking, it was the kind of twist that changes everything. Because once the truth about the cloud backup hit the internet, and people realized the entire case had flipped because Kada himself accidentally synced the recording, the conversation shifted from who snitched to who is the woman at 2:07 a.m., and that question wouldn't go away. It haunted every thread, every comment, every fan theory, until people began treating her like the final boss of the entire storyline. And in a way, she was, because her presence wasn't random. Her fear wasn't random. Her envelope photo wasn't random. She was the missing link, the bridge between Kada's lie and Rayburn's discovery. And once people started digging into her past, the entire internet realized this wasn't a stranger or a casual acquaintance. She was someone tangled in Kada's life in a way he didn't want anyone to know. According to people who lived in the same complex, she had been seen with Kada before. Never close, never affectionate, but always in these tense, whispered conversations late at night, the kind where someone looks over their shoulder before speaking. Some neighbors claimed they heard them arguing weeks prior. Others said they had seen her dropping off bags. And a few said She looked stressed every time she came near his building. But the detail that really broke the story open was when a neighbor revealed that she had been seen entering the building about 20 minutes before Kada arrived that night. That meant she was already there when everything went down. And suddenly her 2:07 a.m. exit made perfect sense. She wasn't running away from Kada. She was running away from the moment. The more people looked into her, the more connections came up. She was apparently tied to a member of Kada's crew, someone he publicly dismissed as just an associate, someone fans always suspected Kada had tension with. And the deeper people dug, the more they realized that her relationship with Kada wasn't emotional, it was transactional. She was the one who covered for him multiple times, lied for him once, held onto something he asked her to keep safe, and according to someone close to the situation, she had warned him several times that she wouldn't take the fall for him again. That warning suddenly echoed through every new theory. It was her running, not out of guilt, but out of fear that Kada would drag her down with him. And when she found out his phone synced the call, she knew he wasn't in control anymore. She posted the evidence envelope because she wanted people to know that she wasn't hiding anything for him anymore, and the fact that she ripped the name off was her way of saying, "I'm done protecting him, but I'm not stupid enough to expose myself." Meanwhile, Kada was falling apart from the inside. Someone on his team leaked that he hadn't slept in 2 days, that he punched a hole in a door, that he fired one of his assistants for breathing too loud, and that he kept saying things like, "She better not talk, and if she flips, it's over." His mother tried calling him, but he ignored the calls. His manager tried calming him down, but Kada lashed out, saying, "None of y'all helped me. I did everything alone." His brother, who had posted that cryptic line about loyalty, tried confronting him privately, but the confrontation turned into a shouting match because Kada accused him of being the reason the internet believed he snitched. The family was shattered. The crew was shaking. The woman at 2:07 a.m. was silent, and Rayburn was waiting. Then came the moment nobody thought would happen. She requested to speak with investigators. Not publicly, not in front of cameras, not on social media, but in private. A quiet, controlled meeting where she supposedly explained everything she saw, everything she knew, and everything she kept hidden because she trusted the wrong person. According to a source who claimed to have overheard part of the conversation, she told investigators, "I tried to warn him. I told him the truth always finds a way out. He didn't listen." That one line became the headline everywhere. Fans replayed it. Critics added captions. TikTok editors turned it into the soundtrack of the year. And with her statement, the final twist snapped into place. The real reason Kada never wanted anyone to know she was there. She wasn't just a witness. She wasn't just someone he argued with. She wasn't even someone he feared because she might reveal the argument. She was someone who knew the one thing Kada hid deeper than anything else. She knew why he went into that building. She knew what he said when he left. She knew what he tried to hide. And she knew what the call recording didn't capture. It wasn't just the lie about being home. It wasn't just the lie about the time. It wasn't the message or the argument or the panic. It was the reason he went inside. And once she told investigators that reason, a reason that will stay sealed until the case concludes, the entire timeline, the entire story, the entire narrative shifted into something bigger than even Rayburn expected. When Rayburn left the building after her statement, reporters tried to swarm him again, but he said only one sentence: "The truth's out now." And for the first time in this entire saga, Rayburn looked relieved. Not proud, not arrogant, not smug, just relieved. Meanwhile, Kada posted a story that looked like a cry for help. Just a dark room, a shadow silhouette, and the caption, "Everybody switched up." But people weren't buying it. Not this time. Not after all the noise, all the evidence, all the contradictions. Fans weren't confused anymore. They weren't arguing. They weren't split. They were united in one understanding. Kada wasn't the victim of a snitch. He was the victim of his own mistakes. And just like that, the story that started with a simple, "He said he never left the house," ended with an entire timeline flipped, A witness stepping forward, a family breaking apart, a phone exposing its owner, and a community realizing that sometimes the loudest people online have the quietest truths buried underneath them. The twist everyone waited for finally arrived. And it wasn't some enemy. It wasn't family betrayal. It wasn't a secret leak. The twist was that the truth had been sitting in Kada's own pocket the entire time. And once the 2:07 a.m. woman spoke, once Rayburn reviewed her statement, once everything lined up perfectly, investigators closed the file and prepared the next phase of the case. And this time, there were no loopholes left. No alibis. No confusion. No shadows. No doubts. The truth stood alone. And the truth was stronger than any lie Kada tried to hold together. She vanished without a trace, but the secret stayed. And that's where everything stands tonight, with a story that spiraled out of control, a witness who stepped out of the shadows, an officer who refused to stay silent, and a man whose entire timeline collapsed because of the very device he thought would protect him. Now the whole world is watching, waiting to see what the next chapter will look like, waiting to see whether Kada will finally speak honestly or continue to dodge the truth, waiting to see whether the 2:07 a.m. woman will ever reveal the full story publicly, and waiting to see how the courts will handle a case that flipped itself from the inside. But here's what matters now. You've heard the evidence, you've heard the recordings, you've followed the timeline, and now it's your turn to speak. What do you think really happened that night? Do you believe Kada went inside that building for the reason investigators suspect? Do you think the woman who ran at 2:07 a.m. knows more than she's saying? Do you think the family will ever reconcile after this? Or do you think Kada's own mistakes are too deep to repair? Your opinion matters, and your voice is part of this conversation now. So drop your thoughts below. Tell us what theory you believe. Tell us what twist shocked you the most. And tell us what you think comes next. Don't forget to like this video if you're still following this wild saga. Hit that subscribe button because there are more updates coming, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new development. This story isn't done. Not even close. And you already know that the next twist is always crazier than the last one. Stay tuned, because the next chapter is going to leave this timeline shaking all over again.